Hello, welcome to Granada Reports. We're live with the latest across the northwest.
Hello, thanks for joining us. Coming up on the programme this evening.
Facing a jail sentence, the police officer who abused his position as a cadet leader to sexually assault teenage boys and girls.
The ticking time bomb of poor health and low life expectancy in some parts of Lancashire. A call for communities to come together to give children a better future.
It doesn't have to be this way. Actually, it should not be that because you're born in a particular community that your life expectancy should be 15 years less than someone else.
A dedicated creator of fashion, how Ava's signed up with Asda to create a range of clothes for people with disabilities.
There goes the final whistle, and Rochdale's 102-year stay in the EFL is over.
Agony for Rochdale fans and players. They're relegated from the Football League.
And in the weather, it was unseasonably cold for the time of year today, and gardeners beware, there's a widespread frost expected tonight. All the details coming up.
First tonight, the police officer who used a training scheme for cadets as his own so-called grooming playground to sexually assault teenagers.
Adnan Ali was dismissed from Greater Manchester Police for gross misconduct a year ago. He's now been found guilty of 5 counts of sexual assault against teenage boys and girls, and he's also been found guilty of multiple charges of misconduct in a public office.
GMP admitted they could have done more to supervise him and have said sorry. Our reporter Anna Youssef is at Greater Manchester Police headquarters for us now. Anna, these were very serious offences committed over 3 years.
That's right, Andy. The offences took place between October 2015 and 2018. Adnan Ali was a highly respected police officer who'd won numerous awards for his work with young people. He was the leader of a large cadet unit, and many of the teenagers he came into contact with had aspirations to be police officers themselves. For many, he was a role model. But there was another, more sinister side to the father of one. During his trial at Liverpool Crown Court, the jury heard how he'd used the cadet unit as a grooming playground and targeted vulnerable young people for his own sexual gratification. Today, he was found guilty of 20 charges, including sexually assaulting 2 teenage girls and a 17-year-old boy, and misconduct in public office involving sexualised conversations. The court heard how Ali was arrested in 2018 following a complaint about inappropriate behaviour with a 16-year-old boy. And during that investigation, detectives discovered thousands of phone messages sent to potential victims.
So, Anna, what have GMP had to say about this?
Well, Lucy, this conviction is the latest in a number of misconduct cases involving GMP officers. They say they'll continue to ensure that predatory employees are rooted and booted out. They've released a video response acknowledging that in Adnan Ali's case, they could have done more.
Let me first say that no person coming into contact with police or staff should be subject to criminal or misconduct offences, and on this occasion these young people were. Ali is responsible for the crimes he committed, but I acknowledge that more could have been done to supervise and monitor him, and for that we are truly sorry.
Well, he's been found guilty. What happens to him now, Anna?
Well, Ali was dismissed from his job and barred from policing in April 2022 following a gross misconduct hearing, but we couldn't report on that until after this trial had finished. He'll be sentenced in June, and it's likely he'll get a custodial sentence. The force say it'll also be recommending that he forfeit his pension.
OK, Anna Youssef at Greater Manchester Police headquarters, thank you.
Now, imagine being told you're likely to die sooner than other people, and that's simply because of where you live.
Well, that's the reality for people in parts of Lancaster and Morecambe who have one of the worst life expectancy rates in the country.
So how can that dismal outlook be changed? Well, today, senior teachers got together to discuss what schools can do to improve the lives of children before it's too late. Our correspondent Mel Barham has more.
For children growing up here in the northwest, it's not a level playing field when it comes to their futures. According to new figures, where you're born and grow up has a real impact on not only your prospects, but also your health.
What the stats show is that those living in the most disadvantaged areas of Lancashire, like here in Lancaster, can expect to die 10 to 15 years earlier than those from more affluent areas. And that disparity starts at a very early age, because almost a quarter of 4 to 5-year-olds here in Lancashire are now overweight. That jumps to about a third of 11-year-olds. And in the most disadvantaged areas of Lancashire, the problem is twice as bad.
Rylands Primary in Lancaster sits amidst one of the most disadvantaged estates in the country. 2/3 of children at this school are eligible for pupil premium. That's 3 times the national average. But despite that, they're doing their best here to give their students the best start in life.
Remind me, what are we going to be growing today?
Prioritising outdoor learning as something that can aid both academic futures and health.
Most lessons you will find that there's an outdoor element nowadays to them. It's super important to us that the children get opportunities to learn in the fresh air, that they appreciate movement around in the open space, that we can get them as active as possible, and also learning things like growing so that they can learn where the food they eat comes from, and also learn to eat an awful lot of fruit and vegetables.
Now, what we're not here to do today is to lump loads more responsibility in schools and say, can you please fix this on top of everything else you have to do?
Today, head teachers from across Lancashire were meeting to discuss what can be done to address the problem. They've already begun to implement a place-based curriculum, believing health and education should go hand in hand.
What I want to see communities across Lancashire do together is to begin to feel outraged about the reality that this is so unjust and we need to change it. The second thing is we must challenge the inevitability of it. It doesn't have to be this way. And the third thing, we need to do things differently together. And that's where people together in communities begin to say, yes, and how are we going to make this change together?
It's very difficult to hear in terms of the health inequalities and the fact that our statistics are some of the worst in the country. But also, the area that we live is wonderful. And I think one of the things that we do with our curriculum is we are teaching children to stay and love this place and change this place.
I love living in Lancaster because we get a lot of fun activities to do, like going to an arcade and maybe going to a park.
I love going outside because it just it gives me a fresh mindset about what I'm learning about and my mental health and stuff.
There are positive moves ahead. The Eden Project Morecambe will bring new economic prospects. Teachers here say that will be the icing on the cake. Until then, they're determined to change the outcomes for children growing up today. Mel Barham, ITV News, Lancaster.
Well, next news of an incident that is ongoing while we're on air tonight. A large fire has broken out at a hotel on Blackpool Promenade. The fire, understood to be at the derelict New Hackett's Hotel on Queen's Promenade, began at around 3:30 this afternoon. Lancashire Fire and Rescue say 12 engines are there alongside their drone team. Roads have had to be closed and people are being asked to avoid the area.
The Blackpool MP Scott Benton is facing a second investigation by the Watchdog for Parliamentary Standards. Footage emerged of him appearing to indicate he'd be willing to break lobbying rules. Mr Benton, who represents Blackpool South, was suspended from the Conservative Parliamentary Party earlier this month and is now sitting as an independent. This investigation will look at whether his actions caused significant damage to the reputation of the House of Commons.
Firefighters in Greater Manchester will be among the first in the country to take part in a new project to monitor risks of cancer. It's led by the University of Central Lancashire and was commissioned by the Fire Brigades Union. 100 frontline staff will give regular blood and urine samples to try to detect signs of disease and toxic substances.
Work is underway on a £7 million scheme to transform the open-air swimming pool on the promenade at Grange-over-Sands in Cumbria. The Grange Lido has remained derelict for more than 30 years. Developers say the pool will be temporarily filled in to turn the site into a children's play area with seating for the public. The long-term hope is to restore the pool and reopen it for swimming.
The faint-hearted with a fear of heights might like to turn away now. Thrill seekers at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, look at this, had to walk down from the top of the big one yesterday. That's the second time this has happened in a fortnight. The ride stopped suddenly and passengers had to be led down to safety by teams.
And the last remaining tickets for the Eurovision Song Contest in Liverpool sold out double quick today. They went on sale at midday and were all gone by 12:20. Prices range from £30 to £380. Ukrainian refugees living in the UK were also able to apply for some of the tickets.
Yeah, brilliant. Now then, it is a breakthrough week in the world of fashion as Vogue features 19 disabled people in its May edition, all drawn from fashion, sport and the arts.
It is the first time the magazine has made such a bold statement. It says it hopes to represent some of the 16 million people living with visible and invisible disabilities in the UK. It wants to show how the fashion business can be more inclusive.
Well, that brings us very neatly to the young artist from Preston who's just helped design a whole new range of clothes specifically for people with disabilities. It's for the George brand at Asda.
16-year-old Ava Jolliffe says it's important to give people with disabilities the chance to look cool. Our reporter Jamal Williams-Thomas went to meet her.
For teenager Ava Jolliffe, designing clothes was a dream. That dream has now come true after she was asked to help design clothes for an Asda range of adaptive clothing for disabled children. Ava is deaf with severely restricted vision, so during our interview, I had some help from Mum.
Why is this project so important? For disabled people, they want to look cool, they want to look fashionable, want to be really relaxed and chilled in their clothes, want to see and be the same as everybody else. Why is it important that disabled people are included in the design process? You need disabled people to design clothes because they know how to make it accessible.
Art and design isn't new to Ava. She's even had exhibitions displaying her work and has won awards.
Since I was a little girl, growing up, since I was 3 years old, I've always done art because I love it. I want to carry on designing clothes and doing art because I'd like also to be seeing my designs on hats and bags.
Clothing suitable for disabled people has long been overlooked by big brands. Emil McCluskey, who had a spinal cord stroke when he was 13, has to self-catheterise. Frustrated by the lack of options by bigger brands, Mum Karen took matters into her own hands.
My mum used to be a machinist, and we just got some material and an old pair of wheelchair trousers, and we made a prototype and we put a zip in.
Although she's crowdfunding to expand the styles in her range, Karen urges major clothing brands to be more inclusive in all their lines and says it's not just about looking good, but also dignity.
Nothing fits properly, you know, so everything is always sort of dropped. So lower back and bums are exposed, and that's not dignified neither. I suppose the other thing as well is about the face of disability, isn't it? It's about how does that look? Is that marketable for the big companies? Does it look sexy? Does it sell? And it will, you know, because it's about representation, isn't it? You know, if you see yourself on screen and somebody's wearing something, you'll say, yeah, I'll have a pair of that because you're representing me.
And as for Ava, well, her dreams just keep getting bigger.
Today, Asda, maybe tomorrow, Louis Vuitton. Yes, maybe if they're lucky, Louis Vuitton.
Jamal Williams-Thomas, ITV News.
You never know. Designs look great as well, and good luck to Ava and Karen with that very important work.
Yeah, if they want to look, make people look cool, perhaps they might come in here and sort us out as well.
Yeah, it's definitely
brilliant work.
Right. Lots still to come on the programme.
She averted a catastrophe. How Willow could be named Hero Cat of the Year for helping save her owner's life.
And in the weather, there were widespread sightings of the Aurora Borealis last night. A chance again to see it tonight. It's very cold, though, out there. All very deceptive, these pictures. They look beautiful, but really cold. A widespread frost expected, but a fine day tomorrow. All the details coming up.
Yes, Yes, I know you're saying it would take a miracle to make us look cool. Anyway, let's move on. Time for sport now, and an historic cup final at Wembley awaits, Mike.
It does, Lucy, yeah. What an occasion this is going to be on Saturday, June the 3rd. That is when Manchester City will take on Manchester United in the FA Cup final. It will be the first time the two rivals have met in the final itself. United had to endure a nerve-jangling semi-final against Brighton yesterday. It was decided by a penalty shootout, defender Victor Lindelof scoring the decisive spot kick. It sees United reach their second cup final of the season after winning the League Cup in February.
It felt great. It was a great relief, and yeah, I'm very happy for the win and to be in the final.
For sure, it's going to be a big game against one of the best teams in Europe, in the world. But we show already when we play against at home at Old Trafford that we can beat them. It's still a long time to play the final, but we have to finish on the top four first and then go with everything to the final.
Well, there was no such drama for Manchester City, who beat Sheffield United 3-0 in their semi-final at Wembley on Saturday. Riyad Mahrez scored the first hat-trick in an FA Cup semi for 65 years. It capped a great week for the Blues, who'd also booked their place in the last four of the Champions League.
After 2 or 3 years in a row, we came here in the semi-final. We always lost and we didn't really play good. And today we really wanted to make sure that we put a good performance and we go to the final.
The mentality of the club, not just the players, the club as well, they push each other since the hierarchy, since the last player, the last person of the backroom and staff help us to be here. So it's an honor to be in the FA Cup final.
Well, there were so many big footballing stories over the weekend, but none as disappointing as Rochdale's relegation from the Football League. After months fighting against the dreaded drop, a 1-0 defeat at Stockport County saw their 102-year stay in the league come to a heartbreaking end. Chris Hall has been to see the club's chairman to find out what happens next.
And there goes the final whistle, and Rochdale's 102-year stay in the EFL is over.
History makers for the least glorious of reasons. Rochdale's membership of a club they joined in 1921 has finally expired, leaving fans fearing the future.
We're extremely sorry that we've dropped out of the league, and I feel the hurt that all the supporters hurt, but we're here as a football club. We still exist. We've not gone bang, and we live to fight another day. And one thing is for optimism is that we'll be starting probably as one of the top 6 clubs in that league rather than one of the bottom 6 clubs.
A drop in division, but not yet the level of financial crisis which led to Bury and Macclesfield's demise. This former airline pilot can, for now, fall back on parachute payments. But if they don't win promotion next season, their income then drops by nearly £1 million, and they're already losing £1 million a year. How much harder is it to sustain that once you're down in the National League?
Budgets will have to be cut, so try and minimise that loss, but we face the same challenges in the National League. We need to go on cup runs, we need to produce players, which our academy's brilliant at doing, and sell them on. We need to make sure that the decline on the pitch doesn't continue, and we have a really good season next year where we're challenging for trophies and winning the National League and getting back into the Football League.
I think most fans realistically are worried. I think it will go a lot further. When I say a lot further, maybe the bottom end of National League before it gets positive again. I think we're really crying out for some outside investment, which would be a massive help, and put some funds back into the club, because we really are struggling with Gates of 2000, and realistically a lot of fans are worried for the future of the club, and it'll get a lot worse before it gets better.
The more optimistic Dale fans may gaze at the club which sent them down. Last year, Stockport ended their 12-year non-league exile, while Wrexham have finally found their way back to league football. Finding new owners like Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney is the Hollywood ending Rochdale dream of.
I've come to the conclusion that inevitably we need investment in the club, but it needs to be investments in a controlled way that puts the supporters of the club first. A little bit more investment in the playing team will make the job of getting back easier, but there's plenty of examples of teams that have come up without having the biggest budget in that league as well.
Does it help attract investors to a National League club when people have seen the very high-profile owners at, say, Wrexham Football Club?
I'd argue when you're speaking to investors now, especially from abroad, that the National League's a lot more famous than League Two, and that is the Wrexham effect. Thereby lies opportunity for the rest of us, I guess, to fill the void that they're now going to leave in that National League.
Just 2 years ago, Rochdale were a League One club, having won promotion twice since 2010. Their claim to fame is being one of the first clubs to play in a League Cup final. Their harsh reality now is that's a competition they don't even qualify to enter. Chris Hall, ITV News, Rochdale.
Yeah, a sad weekend for Rochdale. Well, next to some late drama in the big Lancashire derby between Preston North End and Blackburn Rovers. Rovers took a 1-0 lead with just 10 minutes to go thanks to Sammy Smodic. But North End, like Blackburn, have their own promotion aspirations, and some late pressure in the 94th minute forced an own goal from Dominic Hyam. It ended 1-1. Staying in the Championship, there were huge wins for Blackpool, who boosted their survival hopes, beating Birmingham 1-0, and also for Wigan Athletic, who beat Millwall 2-1 at the DW Stadium. Moving into League One, and Bolton Wanderers remain in the playoff places thanks to their 1-0 victory against Shrewsbury. Only goal difference is keeping Morecambe in the relegation zone now after they beat Charlton Athletic 3-2. And Fleetwood remain in mid-table after their 1-0 win at home to MK Dons. Finally to League Two, and yet more late drama, this time in Salford's match at Walsall. Matthew Lunn's 97th minute goal, securing a 3-2 victory to keep their promotion push firmly on track. And Tranmere Rovers made it back-to-back wins. They beat Grimsby Town 2-0.
Now for a quick look at what's still to come on the ITV News at 6:30 with Mary.
Coming up on the programme, fears for thousands of British citizens left stranded in Sudan. As fighting there rages on, the government warns help for those left behind will remain severely limited until a ceasefire is reached. Here, dental costs are rising by more than 8%, yet a quarter of people say they already can't afford treatment. And tributes pour in for King of the Ballroom Len Goodman, who's died at the age of 78. We'll do Johnny for those stories and more at 6:30. Thanks, Mary. Well, back here they say cats have 9 lives, so we'd like to introduce you to Willow the cat from Prescott on Merseyside, because Willow has been spreading her luck around.
Yeah, Willow helped save the life of her owner, Amanda Jameson, when she became seriously ill. She coolly went downstairs and alerted Amanda's partner by very firmly biting his leg.
Yeah, there was no arguing with that. Willow then led him to where Amanda was lying and wouldn't leave her until help arrived. We're pleased to report Amanda is now back home recovering, and Willow is in line for a national award. Andrew Fletcher on how Willow averted a catastrophe.
Heroes come in all shapes and sizes. Some have whiskers. Willow the rescue cat turned rescuer in her owner's hour of need. One night in December last year, Amanda Jameson lost consciousness after going to bed with dangerously low blood sugar levels. Downstairs, her partner was asleep on the sofa when Willow sprung into action.
The next thing I remember, it's about 4 o'clock in the morning. Willow come running in and she kept frantically biting me, feet, biting me hands, running to the door, coming back and biting me. And I thought, well, what's all the fuss about? So I thought, oh God, no. She probably wants feeding early.
Ray got up to see what was the matter, and Willow led him upstairs.
Willow ran about halfway up, 3/4, and she kept looking back at me and looking at the stairs. So actually I followed her. As I went up here, she was actually by the bedroom door. When I turned the corner, she ran in, jumped on the bed, and I saw Amanda was slumped over.
Ray found Amanda unresponsive and called an ambulance. She was rushed to hospital, where, when she regained consciousness, she learned how her cat had saved her.
I sat there crying when they told me what had happened. I couldn't believe how bad it got. I wouldn't have been here if it weren't for her. And I just love her more than ever. I am so proud of her. She's so intelligent. And if she looks at you, it's like she's staring into your soul.
Amanda was in hospital for 2 weeks. Ray made nightly video calls to her hospital bed so Willow could see her. Since her return home, Amanda says her feline guardian angel won't let her out of her sight.
And she's there for me all night, every night now. So I know if something happens, she'll be there, because she's on the bed with me.
Amanda has now thanked her hero cat by putting her up for a national award. She's nominated Willow in the Moggy Marvels category, hoping the Cats Protection charity will honour the cat that protected her. Andrew Fletcher, ITV News.
Amazing weather now. Here's Emma.
Mum, wet wipes, toilet or bin?
Bin. Why?
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Hello there. Hope the start of your week has gone well. There were widespread sightings of the Aurora Borealis last night, actually as far south as southern England. There is the chance of seeing it again overnight tonight, probably a better chance than last night. So if you are interested, it might be worth keeping an eye out. It was really beautiful today, first thing this morning for many parts of our region. But these pictures are rather deceptive because it was also very cold, with temperatures a good few degrees below where they should be for late April. A widespread frost expected tonight, a drier midweek. Actually quite a fine day tomorrow, but then a more unsettled end to the week. However, it will be turning warmer again. Talking of which, it won't be as warm as it will be further to the south. Come with me on a little holiday down towards southern Spain and North Africa. There's a really intense and quite exceptional heat wave building here, and the record temperature for April for southern Spain is 37.4 Celsius. Well, we think by the end of the week we could get up to 39 Celsius locally, so that could smash that record. So we'll keep you posted on that one. Returning to our part of the world, though, rewinding to the next few hours, most of any showers from today become confined to the coast. They've been really isolated today, though. Not many of us have seen them. Widespread frost expected overnight tonight, so gardeners beware if you have just been planting out recently. Your delicates will need to be protected. There are your sunrise and sunset times for tomorrow. Sun's up at 5:49, sets at 8:30. It's a bright, fine, frosty start to the day. Lots of sunshine around. A chilly day, yes, but not as cold as it was today. There may be an odd shower for the Isle of Man, but a lot of sunshine apart from that. Strong UV as well, do beware. And actually with lighter winds and more sunshine, feeling warmer than it will do in the afternoon when some cloud bubbles up, and then on Wednesday mostly dry with some bright spells. Bye-bye.
Cleaned up well.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Yep, look after your delicates. Thanks for that, Emma. And that's it. Tomorrow, though, actor Adam Rickett will be telling us how he fell victim to scammers.
And we're off to Blackpool Zoo.
Yeah, they're on the lookout for someone to dress up like a giant bird to frighten seagulls away. I think Willow might like that job. You can find out more about that at 6 o'clock.
Look forward to that. Until then, thank you for watching tonight. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.